mean, I hope they show it. A lot of the stuff they cut out, but you're going to get ready for some cat fights, some drama.
I don't know if you ended up being close friends with Juliana, but she's just the like most beautiful soul ever.
You're just gonna have to wait and see. It'll be interesting.
What is up, the Ultimate Fighter fans? I am with Kaytlin Katniss Neil, and she's joining me to break down everything we saw in the Ultimate Fighter episode 3 and 4. So episode 3, man, Mo Usman, we got to see a lot get broken down with him, learn a lot about his history. So what was the energy like when you were watching all that go down?
Yeah, so I loved watching Mitch fight just because he runs his mouth so much and it was so entertaining. And nobody else in the house was really like that. They kind of more just like sat back and like chilled a little bit. And so it was fun watching Mitch really just get into Mo's face.
Yeah, the part has been a very crazy season so far. And the first episode that I covered was for the female flyweights, just getting it done and setting it off with a really good tone. I saw that TikTok you made that was kind of explaining the face you were making when Helen was facing you off. So tell me, like, it's probably such a weird situation when things are cut differently in the reality TV show. So what exactly went down right before face-offs?
Yeah, so we actually had to redo the face-off. So we went out and did the face-off the first time. And I guess Helen was exactly at like 1:26 or something. And she said that she wanted to drink coffee that morning. And she didn't want to have to cut weight. So instead she taped her nipples and then took her shirt off for the weigh-in. So she didn't have to cut that extra weight of wearing a shirt. And so when we did the face off, Helen is just like wearing like tape over her nipples. Me and her are like staring at each other. I'm just trying to keep my eyes up here thinking like, what the heck is going on right now? And then she's like shaking and then she yells at me. She's like, I'm gonna F you up. And I was just like, trying to keep a straight face. And then apparently the producers didn't like it, or they didn't want girls to start taping their nipples at weigh-in, so they made us redo it. And the second time her demeanor was like totally different, and she had her shirt on and she's like, I'm gonna bake you a cake. And I was like, and I'm gonna eat that cake. And then she was like, yeah you are. And I was like, oh no. Wrong words. I genuinely just wanted cake. I was really hungry. I just got to 1:26. So
that's freaking hilarious. And honestly, one of the funniest comments from episode 1 is when you were just like, there's definitely going to be a fight in the house, but it's probably going to be between a heavyweight and a flyweight, for the heavyweights just being able to eat everything in the house. So it's definitely been an entertaining season so far. Helen, a very aggressive fighter, it kind of didn't show out in her fight against you. What is it about your style that you think neutralized her offense of like being that bare knuckle brawler that was going to make things dirty?
Yeah, so I think I'm pretty good at like using my length, like my jabs and my teeps, my front kicks. But I also think every single time she did get aggressive and come in, I just clenched her immediately. And Juliana kept telling her to not clench with me. And so I think that kind of neutralized her. And also she kept mentioning after we fought, oh, she was so much stronger than me, or I thought she was going to be so much stronger than me or whatever. So I think she was kind of worried about me like overpowering her too. So I think that really helped.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the height advantage was there, but like also you're just a very muscular person. You told me that you were an athlete growing up, and your story of just going to an MMA fight and seeing a female on the card like sparked your interest. What was the feedback from the family when you were like, hey, I'm going to start doing MMA and start amateur fighting? Like, what did they say?
Yeah, so when I told my mom I'm going to do MMA, she was like, oh, cool, have fun. And I think she thought I'm going to like do like a fitness kickboxing class. And I don't think she actually realized I was like going to fight. And then I think it was like a full year before I actually took a fight. And when I did, she was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, that's when she started freaking out. But my family's always been like super supportive.
Did you take it like step by step, like jujitsu first and then like maybe a boxing one, or did you just go all out MMA?
Yeah, so I did a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments. I got first in all of those, and then I did 2 Muay Thai fights. I won both of those. So then my coaches finally let me do an MMA fight, and I put it all together.
Okay, so when did you make the move to Syndicate, and where are you going to be training later today since you're in Utah?
Yeah, so I moved to Syndicate almost 3 years ago now. I actually lived in Vegas for the past 2.5 years and I just moved back to Utah in October. But then was getting ready for the show, so I went back down in January. So I've basically been in Vegas for 3 years. Now that I'm in Utah, I train at a gym called the Gima. But yeah, it's a jiu-jitsu gym, but they do MMA training too. And they have a lot of guys my size, so it's pretty awesome.
Very cool. I spoke with Jerry Shapiro, who I know is one of the jiu-jitsu coaches at Syndicate. And I was like, hey man, I mean, Dana White is calling Kaytlin a wrestler and she's going to come in dressed in a singlet next time. So can he expect to see you coming in a singlet? And would you describe your game before Dana White described you as a wrestler, or do you think you're more well-rounded?
So I started everything at once. And so I feel like I'm pretty well-rounded. I don't have like one specific thing. Like I didn't grow up doing kickboxing or I didn't grow up doing karate or anything. I think most of my fights stay standing and I'm like a striker. Like I feel like that's more of what I do is striking in all my fights. But hey, I'll take wrestling. Wrestlers are intense and they're tough, so I'll take it.
Yeah, maybe he was just looking at some of the submissions. I think the one that Juliana saw you at, you got a submission win, right?
Yeah, but that was actually standing. So I teeped her to the stomach and she dropped her head down, and I did a standing guillotine. So I got that submission from striking.
Wow. Okay. Well, Dana White's gonna have to do some more research on when he's doing these breakdowns at the end. But I hope you get a bunch more positive attention from him. It's probably such a crazy feeling to be put on the spot, especially you were the first person of the flyweights to be put on the spot like that. So I know you mentioned that Juliana, she came to your fight, so you were kind of hoping that she picked you, but did you ever get the answers you were looking for when you were like, oh, I wonder why they picked me to go against their number one seed? Did you ever feel like you answered those questions?
No, I mean, just watching back, I think Juliana is just very like professional, cutthroat. I think she like knows that I've had like bumps in my career, like bumps in the road. Like it hasn't been just like a straight path up. So I think she tried to put me against her most like intimidating fighter at first, just to kind of like get me out of the competition. And Helen also kind of like picked me out one day. She's like, hey, you have really toned arms. Are you a boxer? And I was like, I mean, kind of like a strike. And she's like, oh, cool. Yeah, we should fight. Cause then it would be like a good striking match. And I want to box someone. And I was like, okay. But then I ended up getting matched up against her. So I don't know if Helen came up with the idea or if it was Juliana, but yeah.
And I know you have a few siblings. Are you the youngest of the three siblings? Or I think it's two sisters, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have two older sisters.
And does your personality, I feel like, I said this in my review, I just said like everything you say is so like sincere when you say it. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go out there and it's gonna be a very interesting fight. And it's very, opposite of Helen, who's over here like, Kaytlin's a tall girl, but that just means there's more windows for me to fucking break. Like it was very kind of polar opposites in that sense. So does your upbringing in Utah, and I know you have a Mormon background, have to do with like the way you present yourself in the show?
Yeah, I mean, watching that back, I was like, yeah, my trash talk really sucks. So it's not my forte. I'd rather just fight. But yeah, I think that has to do with my background. I mean, like being polite. I don't ever want to talk trash on someone, especially if I'm fighting them, because if I'm like bringing this person down, saying like they're horrible or saying I'm going to destroy them, and then I lose, I'm like, well, I just got destroyed, or like I just lost to somebody who I thought I said sucked, and so it's like that doesn't look good on me either. So it's like I don't understand the trash talk. I'd rather just be like, yeah, I'm fighting a really hard person, they're really good, and so if I do beat them, it just makes me look that much better,
That makes 100% sense. And I know you told your mom that you were going to get into MMA fighting. And I just want to say off the bat that I'm so sorry for your loss with your father. Is it the type of thing that you got to have some like closure with that? Like, was there a funeral that you guys ended up attending? I know like he also hasn't been in your life. So how did that situation end up playing out?
Yeah, so we still have his ashes and we need to go spread them. I just think me and my sisters don't like really want to do it just because it's like uncomfortable and awkward because the situation was so weird. So we'll probably do it on Father's Day.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. Definitely. When I was watching the episode, I was like, how, like, out of all the times, that was probably so much pressure going in, not even just as the first fight, but then all that coming in. So how was your connection with Amanda Nunes and her being able to be there for you as a coach and your teammates as well?
Yeah, so I didn't tell any of my teammates. I only told the coaches and the producers the whole time I was in the house, just because I didn't want my teammates coming in and like checking in on me. And so I constantly had to be thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And then I also didn't want them, like, I didn't want to be able to use that as an excuse for if I like did lose a fight. I didn't want them to be like, oh, well, her dad died. She's like struggling right now. That's why she lost a fight or whatever. So I kind of just like shoved it in, hit it down. It came out a little bit, obviously, but yeah, I only talked to the coaches about it, and Amanda and Nina were so understanding. They were so comforting. It was like basically like having like two moms that like just really cared about you.
Well, that's beautiful. And you obviously showed a lot of strength in that moment. I mean, it translates into your professional life, because I see you're like the CEO or the creator of brand supplements. So what is your goal in the fitness industry? Because I feel like obviously you're such a good fighter as well, but I feel like your stamp in the fitness industry is just going to grow even more, especially from the platform you're given on The Ultimate Fighter. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the supplements.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I love fighting. It's like my passion. And then I grew up kind of in the fitness industry. My parents were always very like into fitness stuff. So I always wanted to create workouts. And so that's kind of why I started Bad Athletics in the first place, was so I can develop workouts. And then of course supplements came along with that. And yeah, I mean, my goal with that is just to like grow it as big as possible, help as many people as I can achieve their fitness and health goals. And so I just think it all kind of like meshes together pretty well. And I think it's so fun.
And for the fans that don't know, where did the nickname Katniss come from?
Yeah, so my freshman year of college, there's this kid and he was reading a book. He was in my friend group and he's like, hey, Kaytlin, you kind of remind me of this character I'm reading about in a book. It's called The Hunger Games and her name's Katniss. I'm gonna call you Katniss. So I was like, okay, cool. So then the whole friend group started calling me Katniss. And then like a year and a half later, after I started fighting, Josh Berkman, who used to be in the UFC, he's a local Utah MMA fighter. That's when the movies came out and he's like, Kaytlin, I just went and saw The Hunger Games. And he's like, you look so much like Jennifer Lawrence in that movie. He's like, your fight name should be Katniss. And I was like, all right. I mean, my friends already call me Katniss anyway, and it goes along with fighting perfectly. So that's how Katniss came about.
That goes on perfectly. And now you could have so many cool weigh-in outfits, I feel like you could bring in a bow or whatever. But yeah, I was going to say, like, it's not just your name, Kat, like Katniss, but also you guys have like cat eyes. So it works perfectly. I figured it was The Hunger Games, but I was like, maybe not. Like, I don't know if everyone else has read that book, but very, very interesting stuff there. And then what is your favorite part about living in Utah?
My favorite part about living in Utah is that it's so pretty. Like the mountains are gorgeous. It's pretty. And then like the people are very nice. And I feel like they're really trustworthy. Like they're super nice. I feel safe. I love my community. It's just like good people, good vibes. And I just love it here.
Nice. And I think it's not that too far of a drive from Vegas. Like it's the next day over, right?
Yeah, it's like a 5.5 hour drive and it's just one way. Like you just hop on the road and sit on it for the whole time.
Well, it was so freaking awesome to watch your episode. How special is it that you are, I think, the only win on Team Nunes right now? Because the other two heavyweights are both on Team Peña.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's been, I feel bad because it's hard to celebrate when you're the only one celebrating, but also I'm honestly like proud to represent Team Nunes in that way.
And is there anything, I know you can't give anything away, but what are some things that we should be excited for the rest of this season? Just like very general, so you don't get in trouble for anything, but like, this is the first time I'm watching The Ultimate Fighter live with the season. So give us something to get hype about.
I mean, I hope they show it. A lot of the stuff they cut out, but you're going to get ready for some cat fights, some drama, lots of tears.
Oh boy. That is awesome. It honestly kind of reminds me of The Bachelor, except you guys are just actually going to fight. Like, you're not fighting for love. You're fighting for that UFC contract. And I really hope you get it. You and Juliana are my two favorite on the show. I don't know if you ended up being close friends with Juliana, but she's just the like most beautiful soul ever.
You're just gonna have to wait and see. It'll be interesting.